Radio 365 Sports. The Cowboys have arrived. Training camp, of course, about to begin in Oxnard, just a little bit north of L.A.
David Helman joins us, 32 degrees cooler there, I believe, than it is right here, right now. David, first day in Oxnard, I know you guys got to talk to Zach Martin, and he's refreshingly kind of acknowledged that, yes, penalties were a problem, and they don't want to do that anymore. Is that one of the key focuses early on in camp, is getting that stuff straight?
I mean, I hope so for their sake, because it was definitely a problem last year. I thought that was interesting. Zach was talking about being a more disciplined, tougher football team, which I completely agree. Those were both issues for this group. So, I think Zach Martin is kind of the picture-perfect guy to give an opening statement when the team arrives. He's the elder statesman. He's one of the most media-savvy guys. So, very, very on-brand messaging from Zach just a little while ago.
Who's better in their career, Zach Martin or Tyron Smith?
Ooh, shoot. I mean, I think you got to give the edge to Zach, probably. Just mainly injuries. I mean, Tyron has missed so much time over the last 5 or 6 years. And I mean, I think the only time Zach Martin has not been named an All-Pro in his entire career is the year where in 2020, when he missed half the season due to injury. So I give it to Zach, but not by a wide margin. I mean, when he's completely healthy, I think Tyron Smith is about as good as it gets at left tackle. So it's a good problem to have, choosing between them, I guess.
How do you see the wide receiver competition past CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Tolbert shaking out?
I mean, that's very high on my list of things to figure out, Paul. Just because, really, I don't even know what you can say for Jalen Tolbert right now. I mean, no disrespect to him, but he's a rookie. He hasn't done anything. He missed a lot of OTAs with a hamstring injury. So even putting a ton of pressure on him to come in right away feels a little bit unfair. So you've got CD. Don't anticipate Michael Gallup to be ready in the near future. And then, Jalen Tolbert, James Washington, Simi Fehoko. There's not a lot in the way of proven commodity behind CeeDee Lamb, at least until Michael Gallup comes back. So it looks awfully thin to me, to be honest with you. And, I mean, you know how training camp goes. There's going to be hamstring tweaks. There's going to be guys getting rest days. So this is a big opportunity for some down-the-depth chart guys to step up. Or check in a few weeks. Maybe they'll be singing a different tune about whether or not they need receiver help. Who knows?
It's early on in camp, and there's always some guys that have not yet been signed by by anybody. And so they're free agents, have a pretty good name to them. What is the latest, or what you hear about the interest in Anthony Barr?
Keep in mind, they don't start practicing till Wednesday, and the pads don't even come on. Honestly, this feels like a large gap before the pads come on. The pads aren't on until Monday. So literally a week from now will be the first time that we see a real football practice, which is kind of wild. But so really, I think every team in the league seems like they're in this mode right now of, maybe we'll look at that, but we're good right now. Like, we want to actually evaluate what we have, see what's going on. So I don't get the impression anything is imminent with Anthony Barr or any other veteran that they've been linked to. But 2 weeks of practice can change that tune in a hurry, whether it's because you don't like what you see from the guys you have or an injury happens. So I'm not ready to rule that type of stuff out, but I don't think it's imminent right now.
It does feel to me that, David, it's true. They really value their own picks, their own talent, and even in that situation, they have to be pretty desperate to go make a move because they really like to push and see what they have from their own picks, for better or worse sometimes.
Oh, yeah. They're very high on their scouting ability. And to be fair to them, it's probably what they do best. I mean, their track record the last 9 or 10 years really speaks for itself. And I mean, the size of these draft class in recent years, they drafted 11 guys in 2021, all of whom are still here. And then they drafted another 9 this year. So that's, 20 guys out of the 90 that are here, just joined the team within the last 15 months. and they have high hopes for those guys. We haven't seen, obviously you got your Micah Parsons. I mean, we know what he is, but the vast majority of those 20 guys have not had an opportunity to really show their stuff yet. And that's what they're banking on. And how well some of those guys put their foot forward will probably determine whether or not they think that they need to add any juice to the roster.
It's obvious if I name Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, Diggs, there's guys I could say, what if they go down? And I don't even like talking about that because I don't want to have any of them go down. Is there somebody outside of someone I mentioned, obviously Zach Martin, is there someone they cannot lose? They cannot, absolutely, no matter what, they cannot lose other than the obvious.
Yeah, I mean, QB is always going to be obvious. There are a few spots like that. Again, receiver, they already don't have Gallup, and I mean, he'll be back eventually, but we don't 100% know when that is just yet. I mean, I think it's very likely, if not probable, that he misses at least some regular season time. So you're already down there. Now, if they were to lose CeeDee Lamb, the receiver core would just be up the creek without a paddle. And then, I think this team is perilously thin at offensive tackle. We just talked about Tyron Smith. He's missed at least 3 games, 6 years running. So you probably are going to have to deal with that. History suggests Terrence Steele is fine, but I don't think he has proven himself as just a rock-solid commodity. And then you got a bunch of young guys like Tyler Smith and a couple other draft picks from the last couple years who you're really leaning on to pull a lot of weight there. And so that is not a position where I think the Cowboys can afford to deal with a whole lot of bad luck injury-wise. So, receiver and offensive tackle definitely come to mind.
Do you get the feeling that Mike McCarthy is on the hot seat, or is that a wishful thinking from the fans?
Oh, I absolutely think. I mean, I'm sure Jerry Jones would say no, but everything is sunshine and roses before you've even had a training camp practice. But yeah, I mean, it's year 3. Year 3 is typically seen as like the make it or break it year for a football coach. Jerry Jones was about as frustrated as I've ever seen him by the way that last season ended. And then for better or for worse, I mean, like, do I think Sean Payton is going to be the coach of this team in the near future? I really don't. But that doesn't matter. The narrative is out there anyway. Like, then he's retired. He's not coaching another team. His name is going to be in the news cycle every single time there's coaching drama, and specifically with the Cowboys, where he has coached before and where he has lived for a long time. So, like, that's just out there as a distraction anyway, regardless of how valid or not it is. And so, I mean, if Mike McCarthy doesn't get this team to a place where, like, definitively better than last season, not saying they have to win the Super Bowl, but, like, missing the playoffs after the frustration of last year, not going to cut it. Going one and done again, I think that would leave a bitter taste in everybody's mouth. I absolutely think he is under a lot of pressure to deliver. I mean, call it the hot seat if you want to, but yes, I think that will be very real if this team struggles.
Now, I'm far from a Mike McCarthy stand in any regard, but would it not be kind of unfair, given what we've just talked about, how they depleted certain positions on the roster and kind of rolling the dice with their depth, to expect him to be better, given that one thing could undo the whole season?
Whose fault is that? I mean, that's their job. They traded away Amari Cooper and cut Lyle Collins. I mean, the roster is the way that it is because they wanted it that way. That's what they chose to do. Whether that was Mike McCarthy's call or not is kind of irrelevant. And I think you can kind of lump Dak into that conversation as well, where you're like, man, you're asking a lot from Dak to lift up this roster, and then you look at it and you say, well, he's the $40 million man. That's what you're supposed to do. Go do it. And I think you can say the same thing about Mike McCarthy of like, well, you are the guy that's been doing this for 15 years. You have won the Super Bowl. You were the guy that kind of pitched yourself as having this amazing resume and you're a superior football coach. So I think that stuff probably it sounds kind of hollow to a certain point. And like I said, I mean, the Cowboys, they made those choices. That was their call. This is the roster that they wanted. And so I don't think that's going to change their line of thinking if the team struggles. I think they would say, so what? Do more with less. That's what we want from you.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Enjoy. I'm sure you will. David Helman, Fox Sports, thank you very much as the Cowboys have arrived. And as you know, we've covered many of them. I haven't covered a camp in 2 or 3 years now, 3 years I guess it is, since COVID. But, you know, how the Cowboys look, they're getting off the bus. And it's fans, you want to know that. But to give you the timeline, like he said, they're going to basically do nothing in pads for quite some time. And training camp is not like back when I first went to one when San Angelo with the Houston Oilers, when Earl and company were there, and they banged into each other and beat the hell out of each other in practice. It's a different animal now with the way it goes. What you hope is you get to training